Admiral Kefvar's 4 eyes tracked the holographic display with practiced precision. The Galactic Council chambers floated in the void like a crystalline flower, its petals rotating slowly around a central core where representatives from 5 civilizations had gathered for the Tricentennial Summit. 300 years of peace. 300 years of carefully maintained balance. Status report, Kefvar commanded, her gills fluttering with anticipation. The Aquarian fleet held position at the outer perimeter, sleek bioships that pulsed with living light. All sectors secure, Admiral, came the response from her tactical officer. The crystalline hegemony maintains their standard formation to starboard. The Void Runners keep their usual distance, predictable as always. Through the viewport, Kefvar could see them all. The hegemony's geometric vessels caught starlight on their diamond hulls, while the runners' dark ships seemed to devour light itself. The Thermal Empire's massive forge ships glowed like miniature suns, their heat signatures painting bright spots on every sensor array. And the Botanical Collective's living vessels writhed through space like enormous vines, their organic hulls breathing in the cosmic radiation. 5 civilizations, 5 fleets, 5 different approaches to the same goal, maintaining the balance that had kept the galaxy from tearing itself apart. Inside the council chambers, the debates had been raging for 6 standard days. Territory disputes, trade routes, mining rights, the same arguments that had been recycled for decades, each side knowing exactly how far they could push before triggering a response. It was a dance they had all mastered, a careful choreography of threat and negotiation. Kefvar's webbed fingers drummed against her command console. The routine was becoming stale, but she understood its necessity. Without the balance, without the careful distribution of power, the galaxy would burn. Her people remembered the Convergence Wars, when her ancestors had nearly been driven to extinction by the early expansion of the Thermal Empire. The Council had saved them all from that fate. Admiral, her communications officer called out, "We're receiving the standard diplomatic signals from all fleets. No unusual activity detected." "Very good. Continue monitoring." The Aquarian fleet had earned its position through cunning rather than raw firepower. While the other civilizations focused on weapons and shields, her people had mastered information warfare. Their bioships could slip through space undetected, gathering intelligence that kept them one step ahead of potential threats. It was a game of mental chess played across star systems. A soft chime indicated an incoming priority message. Kefvar activated her private channel, expecting routine updates from the homeworld. Instead, Fleet Command's image materialized before her, their expression grim. "Admiral, we've detected an anomaly in Sector 7 Alpha. Long-range sensors picked up an energy signature unlike anything in our databases." Kefvar's dorsal fin stiffened. "Elaborate." "The signature appeared suddenly, approximately 4 light-years from your position. Whatever it is, it's moving toward the council chambers at incredible speed. Our analysts estimate arrival in less than 2 hours." "Could it be a weapon? Some new hegemony technology?" "Negative. The energy patterns don't match any known civilization. Admiral, this is completely unknown." The chamber fell silent except for the gentle hum of biosystems. Unknown contacts meant only one thing: a potential threat to the balance. Kefvar's mind raced through the possibilities. A rogue faction, an experimental weapon, or perhaps something worse, a new player entering the game when all the pieces had already been arranged. "Alert status," she asked. "All fleets are being notified simultaneously. Standard diplomatic protocols." Kefvar nodded, but unease crept through her like ice water in her veins. In 3 centuries of peace, no unknown contact had ever approached the council chambers. The galaxy had been mapped, catalogued, and divided. Every sentient species had been contacted, evaluated, and either incorporated into the balance or deemed irrelevant. Her tactical display updated with new information. The other fleets were responding to the alert, their formations shifting subtly. The hegemony ships began rotating into defensive positions. The Void Runners melted deeper into shadow. The Empire's forged ships flared brighter as their reactors spun up to combat readiness. Only the Collective seemed unconcerned, their living ships continuing their languid dance through space. "Admiral," her sensor operator called out, "I'm detecting gravitational disturbances consistent with a massive object approaching at superluminal speeds." "How massive?" "Comparable to a hegemony dreadnought, but the energy signature is still completely unidentified." Kethvar's hearts began beating faster. A dreadnought-sized vessel with unknown technology, approaching the most important diplomatic gathering in galactic history. This wasn't just a threat to the balance. This could shatter everything they had built. She opened a channel to her fleet. "All ships, prepare for potential combat operations. Defensive formations, but do not appear aggressive. We don't know what we're dealing with." The next hour passed like a lifetime. Reports flowed in from long-range sensors as the unknown contact drew closer. The object was definitely artificial, definitely under intelligent control, and definitely not following any known approach protocols. Then, without warning, space itself seemed to tear open. Reality twisted into impossible geometries as something punched through the fabric of space-time itself. Energy patterns cascaded across every sensor array in a display of technological mastery that left the assembled fleets stunned into silence. When the distortion cleared, a ship hung in space before them. It was unlike anything in the galactic databases, sleek where the hegemony was angular, solid where the runners were ethereal, efficient where the empire was ornate, and utterly artificial where the collective was organic. Gray hull plating reflected starlight in patterns that suggested advanced metallurgy, while weapon ports spoke of devastating potential held in careful restraint. Along the hull, symbols glowed with soft blue light. Symbols that matched no known language, no recognized civilization. The ship transmitted a single message across all frequencies, in perfect galactic standard. "This is the Earth warship Defiance. We need to talk." Captain Marcus Chin stood on the bridge of the Defiance, watching the alien fleets scramble into defensive positions around them. His dark eyes reflected the tactical displays that painted the surrounding space in brilliant colors, each civilization's ships glowing like constellations against the black void. "Captain," Lieutenant Sarah Martinez called from the communication station, "we're receiving over 300 incoming transmissions. The computer is struggling to sort through the languages." "Any threats?" "Mostly confusion and demands for identification. But, sir, there's something else. They keep referring to us as unknown and unregistered. It's like they've never heard of Earth." Marcus nodded grimly. After 18 months of covert observation from the edge of their solar system, they had expected this reaction. Humanity had been watching, learning, preparing for this moment when they would step onto the galactic stage. But the aliens had no idea they existed. "Dr. Reeves," he called to the woman stationed at the xenolinguistics console, "are you ready to handle first contact protocols?" Dr. Elizabeth Reeves looked up from her displays, her gray hair reflecting the blue glow of the translation matrices. "As ready as anyone can be for rewriting history, Captain. The linguistic algorithms are loaded with everything we learned from monitoring their communications. We can speak to all 5 civilizations simultaneously." The Defiance had been humanity's greatest secret for the past 5 years. Built in the shadow of Jupiter using technology reverse-engineered from a crash probe that had been quietly studying Earth's outer system, it represented humanity's desperate gambit to avoid the fate of so many primitive worlds, conquest, subjugation, or worse. "Captain Chun," came a new voice over the comm system, distorted by layers of translation protocols. "This is Admiral Kethvar of the Aquarian Fleet. You will identify yourself immediately and explain your presence at these proceedings." Marcus stepped forward, feeling the weight of his species' future on his shoulders. "Admiral, I am Captain Marcus Chun of the Earth Defense Force. We represent the human species of the Sol system. We've come because our survival depends on what happens here today." A long pause filled the void between ships. Then multiple voices erupted across the communication channels, overlapping in a cacophony of confusion and alarm. "Impossible," came a crystalline voice from the hegemony. "Sol system contains only primitive life forms. Our surveys classified them as pre-industrial. The thermal readings suggest significant technological advancement," rumbled a voice from the Empire's forge ships. How did they achieve interstellar capability so rapidly? Marcus exchanged glances with Dr. Reeves, who nodded encouragingly. They had anticipated this reaction during countless simulations back on Earth. Your surveys were correct about our technological level, Marcus replied calmly. Until recently. But we've been watching you all for over a year now, learning about your civilizations, your conflicts, and your balance of power. We know about the mining disputes in the Kepler cluster. We know about the trade route tensions between the runners and the collective. We know that this summit is supposed to prevent another galactic war. The communication channels fell silent. Marcus could almost feel the shock radiating from the assembled fleets as his words sank in. You've been spying on us. The Void Runner voice seemed to emerge from darkness itself, carrying undertones of menace that made several bridge officers shift uncomfortably. We've been protecting ourselves, Marcus corrected firmly. When we discovered that our solar system sits at the intersection of 5 different territorial claims, we realized that our ignorance wouldn't save us. Eventually, one of your expansion phases would reach Earth. We decided to make contact on our terms rather than wait for conquest. Dr. Reeves leaned over to whisper urgently, Captain, I'm detecting massive power buildups across all 5 fleets. We may have pushed too hard. Marcus felt sweat beading on his forehead despite the bridge's climate control. The Defiance was powerful, but it was still just one ship against hundreds. Their advantage lay not in firepower, but in what they knew. Before anyone makes a decision they'll regret, Marcus announced, his voice carrying across all channels. You should know that we didn't come here blindly. We understand your balance of power better than you think. He gestured to Martinez, who activated a series of holographic displays visible to all ships. Star charts appeared in the space between the fleets, showing territorial boundaries, resource deposits, and fleet movements with impossible accuracy. This is classified hegemony intelligence, gasped the crystalline voice. These are sealed Aquarian reconnaissance reports, Admiral Ketvar added, her tone sharp with disbelief. We have information from all 5 civilizations, Marcus continued relentlessly. Trade agreements you thought were secret. Weapon developments your rivals don't know about. Alliance negotiations that could shift the balance overnight. We've been very thorough. The implications hit the assembled fleets like a shockwave. If humanity had been watching undetected for over a year, gathering intelligence from all sides, they possessed something more dangerous than any weapon. Complete knowledge of everyone's secrets. What do you want? The Botanical Collective's voice rustled like wind through leaves, carrying notes of both curiosity and wariness. Marcus took a deep breath. This was the moment everything depended on. We want to live, he said simply. Earth sits in space that all of you have claims to. When you inevitably expand, you'll find us. We'd rather be partners than victims. But we won't be ignored, and we won't be conquered. The balance of power you've maintained for 3 centuries, it just changed. There are 6 civilizations in this galaxy now, whether you like it or not. The silence that followed felt like the pause before thunder. Marcus could see weapon systems powering up across the alien fleets, could feel the tension building toward a breaking point that could either birth a new age or end humanity's brief venture into the stars. Inside the council chambers, chaos erupted as the 5 civilizations' representatives abandoned centuries of diplomatic protocol. High Chancellor ZYX, 9 of the crystalline hegemony's geometric form blazed with angry light, their crystalline structure resonating with harmonic frequencies that made the chamber walls vibrate. This is an unacceptable violation of galactic sovereignty, ZYX, 9 declared, their voice cutting through the air like shattered glass. No primitive species has the right to spy on established civilizations. They must be contained immediately. Admiral Ketvar's representative, a smaller Aquarian named Reefsinger, raised her webbed hands for calm. We must consider the implications carefully. If they possess our classified intelligence, destroying them could expose all our secrets to scavengers and rival factions. The Thermal Empire's delegate, a being of living metal and fire called Forge Master Cracks, slammed a molten fist against their podium. Implications? They've made fools of us all. How does a species advance from primitive agriculture to interstellar espionage in mere decades? It's impossible. Nothing is impossible, whispered Shadow Walker Nix of the Void Runners, their form barely visible even in the chamber's bright lights. Perhaps they had help. Perhaps someone has been playing a longer game than we realized. The Botanical Collective's representative, an entity called Root Mind that resembled a walking grove of silver trees, swayed gently as they spoke. The newcomers speak of survival. This is a concept all growing things understand, but their methods suggest predatory intelligence rather than simple preservation instinct. Captain Chen's voice cut through the debate, transmitted directly into the chamber from the Defiance. Honored representatives, may I address your concerns directly? The chamber fell silent. No outsider had ever been permitted to speak during council sessions. The very idea violated 3 centuries of established protocol. You will not. ZYX9 began, but Reefsinger interrupted. Let them speak. We need to understand what we're dealing with. Marcus appeared as a hologram in the center of the chamber, his image flickering slightly as the alien technology struggled to process human biosignatures. He looked around at the 5 representatives, feeling the weight of their alien gazes. You're wondering how we advanced so quickly, he said, his voice steady despite the magnitude of the moment. The answer is that we didn't. We've always been what we are, adaptive, resourceful, and determined to survive. Your own scouts missed our true nature because you were looking for the wrong things. He gestured, and new holographic displays materialized around his image. Earth appeared in miniature, showing cities, orbital installations, and the massive construction facilities hidden in the asteroid belt. You looked for energy signatures and assumed primitive. You scanned for advanced materials and found none. But you never looked for what humans do best, making the most of what we have. Every piece of technology on our ship was built from resources in our own solar system, using principles we discovered by studying that probe you left behind. Forge Master Krax leaned forward, the metal features glowing brighter. Probe? What probe? The Hegemony survey drone that crashed on our moon 8 years ago. Marcus replied calmly. Your people wrote it off as a complete loss when it failed to report back. But we found it. We studied it. We reverse-engineered technologies that your civilization considers routine. ZYX9's crystalline form pulsed with agitation. That probe was classified as destroyed by meteor impact. How did we find a crashed ship on our own moon? Marcus's smile was thin but sharp. We lived there. We noticed things. And once we understood what we were looking at, we realized we weren't alone in the universe. That's when we started listening. Root Mind's branches rustled with what might have been admiration. Clever seedlings. But understanding technology and mastering diplomacy are different skills. You have shown us your knowledge. Now show us your wisdom. What do you propose? Marcus took a deep breath. This was the moment they had planned for, trained for, hoped they would never need. But the die was cast, and humanity's future hung in the balance. We propose a new paradigm, he said. Your balance of power works because no single civilization can dominate the others. But it's unstable. Every few decades, someone tests the boundaries. Wars threaten to break out over resources, territory, trade routes. You spend enormous energy maintaining a peace that's always one miscalculation away from collapse. He waved his hand, and the holographic star chart shifted, showing new patterns and connections. Earth offers something different. We have no territorial ambitions beyond our own system. We're not interested in conquering anyone or claiming ancient rights to distant worlds. But we have something you all need, an outside perspective and the ability to mediate disputes without favoring any existing faction. Shadow Walker Nix materialized more solidly, their dark form rippling with interest. You propose to make yourselves judges over civilizations millions of years older than your species. Bold, perhaps foolishly so. Not judges, Marcus corrected. Partners. We propose expanding the balance from 5 powers to 6, with humanity serving as a neutral party. We have no historical grudges, no ancestral claims to territory, no existing alliances to bias our decisions. We can offer what none of you can: true impartiality. The chamber erupted in debate again. The representatives argued in multiple languages simultaneously, their translation devices struggling to keep up with the rapid-fire exchanges. Marcus waited, watching their reactions, trying to gauge whether humanity's gamble would pay off. Finally, Admiral Kethvar's voice cut through the chaos from her flagship. "Captain Chen, you speak of neutrality and mediation, but your ship carries weapons. Your intelligence-gathering operation was conducted without consent. These are not the actions of neutral mediators." Marcus nodded grimly. "You're right, Admiral. We came prepared for war because we didn't know if peace was possible, but we're also prepared to prove our good faith. Dr. Reeves, initiate Protocol 7. Throughout the alien fleets, communication systems suddenly came alive with data streams. Terabytes of information flowed freely from the Defiance to every ship, complete intelligence dossiers, technological specifications, diplomatic assessments, even the location of Earth itself. We're giving you everything," Marcus announced as the delegates stared at the flood of information in shock. "Every secret we learned, every advantage we gained, every piece of leverage we had. It's yours now. All of it." The gesture sent shockwaves through the assembled fleets. In one moment, humanity had voluntarily surrendered every advantage they possessed, leaving themselves completely vulnerable. "Why?" Reefsinger whispered, her gills fluttering with disbelief. Marcus smiled, and for the first time since arriving, he looked truly confident. "Because trust has to start somewhere. And because we're betting that 5 civilizations who've maintained peace for 3 centuries are wise enough to recognize when someone is offering partnership instead of demanding conquest." The data streams continued flowing from the Defiance for 17 minutes, each second adding to the mounting tension in the chamber. When the transmission finally ended, the silence that followed was deafening. 5 civilizations sat in stunned contemplation of what they had just witnessed, a complete voluntary surrender of strategic advantage. High Chancellor ZYX-9 was the first to speak, their crystalline form dimming to a barely perceptible glow. "This is unprecedented. No species in galactic history has ever voluntarily disclosed their intelligence capabilities to potential enemies." "Perhaps," said Rootmind slowly, their silver branches swaying thoughtfully, "this is because no species has ever been so young and yet so dangerous. They have given us the power to destroy them utterly." "Why?" Admiral Kethvar's voice crackled through the communication array, tense with uncertainty. "I'm reviewing their intelligence files on our deep space reconnaissance operations. They knew about missions that haven't even been declassified to our own junior officers. This level of surveillance capability." She paused, the implications sinking in. "They could have observed us for decades without us knowing." From his command deck aboard the massive forge ship Stellar Anvil, Forge Master Krax studied the technical specifications humanity had shared about their ship construction. His molten features flickered with something approaching respect. "Their engineering is crude but effective. They've achieved advanced capabilities using fraction of resources we would require. These humans, they think differently than we do." Shadow Walker Nyx materialized more fully in the chamber, their dark form rippling with barely contained energy. "Different, yes. But is different necessarily trustworthy? They speak of neutrality while demonstrating the ability to penetrate our most secure communications. They offer partnership while holding a dagger at our throats." Marcus's holographic form remained steady in the center of the chamber, though sweat beaded on his real forehead aboard the Defiance. "You're right to be suspicious. In your position, humanity would be equally cautious. But consider this. If we wanted to harm any of you, would we announce our presence at your most important gathering? Would we reveal our capabilities instead of using them in secret?" Dr. Reeves leaned over to whisper urgently in Marcus's ear. "Captain, I'm detecting quantum fluctuations in the local spacetime. Several fleets are charging their primary weapon systems." Marcus nodded slightly, but kept his expression calm. The next few moments would determine whether humanity joined the galactic community or became its first casualty. Reefsinger rose from her position in the Aquarian delegation. "Captain Chen, your actions today have created an impossible situation. You possess intelligence that could destabilize our entire civilization structure, yet you claim to seek only survival and partnership. How do we proceed when the very foundations of our balance have been shattered? By building something new, Marcus replied immediately. Your balance worked when there were 5 powers who knew each other's capabilities and limitations. Now there are 6. The mathematics have changed, but the principle remains the same. No single faction can dominate if the others work together. ZYX9's form blazed brighter. You speak as if your inclusion is inevitable, but you are one ship against hundreds. Your intelligence gathering is impressive, but it cannot protect you from concentrated firepower. You're absolutely right, Marcus agreed, surprising everyone with his calm acceptance. We can't fight you all. We can't outrun you. We can't hide from you anymore. We are completely at your mercy. He paused, letting the weight of that admission settle. Just as every weaker civilization has been at your mercy for centuries. The question is, what kind of civilizations are you? The chamber fell silent again. The representatives looked at each other, decades of diplomatic protocol warring with the unprecedented nature of the situation. Rootmine's branches rustled with what sounded like laughter. Clever seedlings indeed. You have turned weakness into strength by embracing it completely. But words are easy. Actions reveal true intent. What proof can you offer that your species will honor this proposed neutrality? Marcus had been waiting for this question. Dr. Reeves, activate the beacon. Across all communication channels, a new signal began broadcasting from the Defiance, not directed at the assembled fleets, but toward Earth itself. The signal was simple, just coordinates and a single word. Home. That beacon will guide you to Earth, Marcus explained. Our homeworld is now completely exposed to all of you. You know where we live, how many of us there are, what our capabilities are. If we betray your trust, you can end our species with a single coordinated strike. Forge Master Krax's voice rumbled with confusion. You've just guaranteed your own extinction if you deceive us. No logical species would accept such vulnerability. No logical species that plan to deceive you, Marcus corrected. We're not asking you to trust our words. We're giving you the power to hold us accountable for our actions. Permanent accountability. Shadow Walker Nix flickered in and out of visibility as they processed this information. Fascinating. They've made betrayal impossible by making the consequences absolute. But this assumes rational behavior from all parties. What if one of us decides to eliminate the threat regardless of their peaceful intentions? The question hung in the air like poison gas. Everyone knew it was the real issue. Even if most of the civilizations accepted humanity's proposal, it would only take one to decide that the safest course was genocide. Admiral Kethvar's voice cut through the tension. That decision would require consensus under the Council Charter. No single civilization can act against a recognized species without majority approval. Are we recognizing them as a species? ZYX9 asked sharply. They haven't been formally evaluated, haven't undergone the standard protocols. The standard protocols, Rootmind interrupted, assume that new species are discovered in their home systems at relatively primitive technological levels. These humans have bypassed our entire first contact framework by achieving intelligence parity before revealing themselves. Marcus felt a glimmer of hope. The debate was shifting from whether to destroy humanity to how to integrate them into the existing structure. It wasn't victory yet, but it was progress. I propose a trial period, Reefsinger announced suddenly. 6 months of probationary membership. We test their neutrality claims with minor disputes, assess their judgment, evaluate their trustworthiness. If they prove reliable, we consider full integration into the balance structure. And if they prove unreliable? Forge Master Krax asked. The answer was unspoken but understood by all. Humanity's beacon had made sure of that. Marcus looked around the chamber at the 5 alien representatives, reading their expressions as best he could across the vast gulf of species differences. Fear, curiosity, suspicion, and something that might have been admiration flickered across their alien features. 6 months, he said quietly. We accept. The vote was closer than humanity had hoped, but wider than they had feared. 3 civilizations in favor, 1 opposed, 1 abstaining. It was enough. Humanity had a foothold among the stars. Now they had to prove they deserved to keep it. 6 weeks later, Captain Marcus Chen stood in the observation deck of Harmony Station, watching the construction of humanity's first permanent galactic outpost. The station hung in neutral space, equidistant from all 5 civilizations' territories, a symbol of the new 6-way balance that was slowly taking shape. The early days had been brutal. 3 separate diplomatic crises in the first month alone, each one testing humanity's claimed neutrality to its limits. A territorial dispute between the crystalline hegemony and the botanical collective over mineral-rich asteroids. Trade route negotiations that had the Void Runners and Thermal Empire on the brink of economic warfare. Most challenging of all, accusations of espionage when Aquarian intelligence operations were exposed in hegemony space. Each time, Marcus and his growing team of human diplomats had walked the razor's edge between competing interests, offering solutions that satisfied no one completely, but gave everyone something they could accept. It was exhausting, thankless work that left him questioning whether humanity had bitten off more than it could chew. "Captain," Dr. Reeves approached, carrying a data pad filled with the day's intelligence briefings. "We've received word from Earth. The second diplomatic ship launched yesterday. Ambassador Rodriguez should arrive within the month." Marcus nodded, feeling some of the tension leave his shoulders. The Defiance had been humanity's only representative for too long. They needed more ships, more diplomats, more perspectives to handle the complexity of galactic politics. "Any word on the hegemony's response to our trade mediation proposal?" "Chancellor ZYX-9 has agreed to the resource-sharing agreement, with modifications. They're still suspicious of our motives, but they're willing to work within the framework we established." Through the observation port, Marcus could see ships from all 6 civilizations working together on the station's construction. Hegemony engineering precision guided the placement of structural elements. Aquarian bioships provided organic components that would regulate atmosphere and water systems. Thermal Empire forge ships crafted the metal framework with techniques that had been perfected over millennia. Most remarkably, Void Runner Shadowtech was being integrated with botanical collective living systems to create communication networks that could function across vast distances instantaneously. Technologies that had been jealously guarded secrets were now being shared in the service of building something unprecedented. And at the center of it all, human coordination protocols kept the wildly different approaches synchronized. "Captain Chun," a familiar voice called from the station's communication system. Admiral Kethvar's image materialized in the observation deck, her aquatic features showing what Marcus had learned to recognize as cautious optimism. "Admiral, what can I do for you today?" "I wanted to inform you personally. The Aquarian Congress has voted to upgrade your species' status from probationary to associate membership. The formal announcement will be made at tomorrow's council session." Marcus felt his heart skip a beat. Associate membership meant humanity would have voting rights on minor issues and could participate in economic treaties. It was a huge step forward. That's wonderful news, Admiral. What changed their minds?" Kethvar's gills fluttered in what he had come to recognize as amusement. "Your handling of the Kepler mining dispute impressed our leadership. When you sided with our historical claim over the hegemony's geological surveys, many of our people expected you to demand compensation or favors. Instead, you ensured that the hegemony received equal access to rare earth deposits in the Vega system. True neutrality in action." Marcus smiled, remembering the sleepless nights he and his team had spent finding that solution. "We gave our word that we would be impartial. That means finding ways for everyone to benefit." "Yes, well." Kethvar paused, her expression growing more serious. "Not everyone is as impressed. Shadowwalker Nix has been asking uncomfortable questions about your species' long-term intentions. They believe your neutrality is a facade, that you're positioning yourselves to eventually dominate the balance rather than maintain it." The warning didn't surprise Marcus. The Void Runners had been the most skeptical from the beginning, and their intelligence capabilities meant they were constantly probing for signs of human deception. "What kind of questions?" They want to know why Earth is building more diplomatic ships when one has proven sufficient for mediation duties. They question why your people are requesting detailed star charts of uninhabited systems. Most concerning, they've detected unusual energy signatures from your home system that suggest massive construction projects. Marcus nodded grimly. He had known this conversation was coming. Humanity's rapid expansion had not gone unnoticed, and their motivations were being questioned. Admiral, may I ask you to arrange a private meeting with Shadow Walker Nix? It's time we address their concerns directly. That would be challenging. The Void Runners don't typically engage in face-to-face diplomacy, but I'll see what I can arrange. After the Admiral's image faded, Marcus stood alone in the observation deck, watching the impossible sight of 6 different civilizations working together. The irony wasn't lost on him. Humanity had entered galactic politics, claiming they only wanted to survive, but their very presence was changing everything. Dr. Reeves joined him at the viewport. "Penny for your thoughts, Captain." "I'm thinking about unintended consequences," he replied. "We came here to prevent our extinction, but we've started something bigger than we imagined. Look out there. When's the last time you think those civilizations collaborated on a joint project?" Never, according to the historical records. The balance was always about maintaining separation, not encouraging cooperation. Marcus watched a botanical collective vine ship carefully position a living communication relay, while a thermal empire forge ship provided the mounting brackets. "We're not just mediating disputes anymore, Elizabeth. We're catalyzing something new. The question is whether the galaxy is ready for it." A soft chime indicated an incoming priority message. Marcus activated the communication panel, expecting routine reports from Earth or updates from the station construction teams. Instead, Shadow Walker Nix materialized in the room, not as a hologram, but as a barely visible distortion in the air that spoke with a voice like whispered secrets. "Captain Chun, we need to discuss the future of your species' role in galactic affairs. There are developments that require immediate attention." Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. The Void Runners never initiated contact unless something was seriously wrong. What kind of developments? The kind that could either cement humanity's place among the stars or see your homeworld reduced to cosmic dust before the next council session. Are you prepared to learn what your neutrality has truly cost? The shadow figure flickered, waiting for an answer that would determine whether humanity's greatest gamble had finally paid off, or whether they had simply delayed their extinction by a few months. Marcus looked out at the construction site one more time, at the impossible cooperation his species had helped bring about, then turned back to face whatever revelation would define humanity's ultimate fate among the stars. "I'm listening," he said quietly. The balance of power hadn't just changed. It had evolved into something entirely new, and humanity was about to discover whether they had created the future they hoped for, or the nightmare they had always feared.